Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on tonight's broadcast of Discoveries in Science. I'm your host, Josh Barbican. When we think of physics, the likes of Isaac Newton, Stephen Hawking, and Albert Einstein are often thought of. But there is a new rising physics icon in the making, and we have the special privilege of interviewing him tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to introduce to you Dr. Mohan Jr. Such a privilege to have you and your lab assistant, Michaela, here on our show tonight. Well, before we dive into tonight's show, we have a message from our sponsor. Tonight's interview is brought to you by Coca-Cola Balloons, providing a refreshing twist on the balloons we all know and love. For our first question, we'll turn towards Dr. Mohan Jr., or Dr. MJ for short. Dr. MJ, explain to us your inspiration behind this daunting and highly recognized experiment in which you and Michaela embarked on.
So we can see the problem being addressed is we're trying to figure out the charge or the number of electrons in two identical balloons. And the goal is to create an experiment where we can measure the acceleration, and with that we can calculate the force, and with that you can calculate the charge. So for the findings, we measured the acceleration using tracker.
So here's your experimental design. You want to explain this to us?
So right now we have two balloons, and these are charged because we rubbed it in our heads, two identical balloons. And what we did was we put one down and we put it at a fixed position, right? And then the other balloon, the other person just put it down there and did nothing with it. It's non-fixed. And basically we put them at a 0.2 meters distance apart, and we saw the repulsive force acting on them.
Very well. So now, Michaela, we're going to turn this one over to you. Can you walk us through some of your models and schemas that you produced?
Okay, well, here on the right, the system schema, you can see that the balloon 1 and balloon 2 is the fixed one, by the way, is the only connection really between them is that there is repulsion. The middle one, the force diagram, you can see that as this is only the not fixed balloon, yet there is a force coming from the fixed balloon, balloon 2, that is pushing it to the left. And then that's just the potential kinetic energy.
Very well. So explain to us, Dr. MJ, the main physics behind your experiment.
So there's actually two, and the first one is the electric interaction. And when we rub the balloons on our head, we are making the two balloons the same charge. And since we know that electric charges repel, that actually works in our favor, and that we calculate the average calculation of the non-fixed balloon, and by using the tracker, and that will help us find the force. The second thing we know is Coulomb's law, and it states that force of two charged objects can be calculated by using equations Q over R squared. We can determine the charge for the two balloons.
Very well. All right. So just kind of walk us through what was measured and what calculations you guys made.
Okay, so we took a video of the act of the balloons repulsing each other, and we used tracker to track the acceleration of the balloon, and then I found the average acceleration throughout, and we did this for 3 trials.
Okay. So for the trials 1, 2, and 3, we made a chart, and basically we figured out the charge of the balloon was 2.386 e to the negative 9 for trial 1, 5.118 e to the negative 8 for the second trial, and 2.101 e to the negative 8 for the third trial.
So those are pretty groundbreaking discoveries right there. But the audience at home wants to know, were there any errors that could have occurred during your calculations and your experiment? And what assumptions did you make when carrying out this experiment?
Well, we had to assume that there was no friction between the ground and the balloon. And then possible errors that we may have made were tracking the balloon in the video. Could have, frame by frame isn't always perfect. The distance between the balloons would fluctuate between each trial because we were trying to get it done so fast. And then balloons were, charged differently or began to neutralize, so, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Dr. Mohan Jr. and his lovely assistant, Michaela. So this concludes tonight's episode of Discoveries in Science. Thank you to all the viewers at home who took the time out of their day to learn about the latest mesmerizing discovery in the world of physics. Have a wonderful night and join us next time as we dive into the world of geology. Josh Barkin, out.